Hi there. My name is Connor Heelan, and this is my BIO153 critical assignment on the human brain. So to start off, we'll do human brain and the anatomy of it. The human brain is comprised of 60% fat and 40% water, protein, salts, and carbohydrates. It houses blood vessels and nerves. It's an extraordinarily complex organ that controls our thoughts, emotions, breathing, vision, motor skills, and virtually every other process that regulates our bodies. The outside of our brains is made up of gray matter, with white matter lying underneath the gray matter. The gray matter is mostly made up of neuron somas, with the white matter being comprised primarily of axons. Around our brains are protective coloring called meninges. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. The dura mater, the arachnoid, and the pia mater comprise these meninges. Our brains are divided into three parts: the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. The cerebrum is the most significant portion. It's much larger than the other two. The cerebellum is smaller. It's around the size of a fist, while the brainstem comprises the middle part of the brain and connects the cerebrum to our spinal cords, or cerebrum to our spinal cords. All four parts of the cerebrum are broken down into lobes: the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, the occipital lobe, and the temporal lobe. Within the brain, there are deeper structures, such as the pituitary gland, the hypothalamus, the amygdala, the hippocampus, the pineal gland, ventricles, and cerebrospinal fluids. So moving on to the human brain and its physiology. So our brains send and receive both electrical and chemical signals all throughout our bodies. Each signal is made up of different processes which your brain then interprets. Some signals are kept in the brain, while other signals are sent to the spinal cord and then distributed throughout your nerves and extremities. The somas within the gray matter allow us to process and make sense of information, and the axons within the white matter send the information to other parts of our nervous systems. The dura matter contains two layers, which allow veins and arteries to supply blood to the brain. The arachnoid is connective tissue that sits above the cerebrospinal fluids, and the cerebrospinal fluids work as a cushion for the entire nervous system, and they help circulate continuously throughout our nervous systems in order to improve or remove impurities. The pia mater is a thin membrane that blankets the surface of the brain and forms around its structure. Moving on to the cerebrum, it coordinates movement and regulates body temperature. Additionally, it enables speech, emotions, learning, problem solving, vision, touch, and judgment. The cerebellum functions to coordinate voluntary muscle movement and maintains balance and coordination. The brainstem has three distinct parts: the midbrain, which helps to calculate responses and environmental changes; the pons, which allow for functions like blinking, chewing, vision, focus, hearing, and facial expression; and then the medulla, which regulates breathing, heart rhythm, blood flow, and oxygen and carbon dioxide levels. The frontal lobe is heavily involved in personality development and decision making. The parietal lobe helps to recognize objects, understand spatial awareness, and interpret touch. The occipital lobe is heavily involved with vision ability, and the temporal lobe is involved with musicality, speech, rhythm, and short-term memory. So the human brain physiology continued. The pituitary gland is often referred to as the master gland. This gland is in charge of superintending all other glands throughout the body, and it regulates hormonal flow. The hypothalamus regulates body temperature and sleep patterns and controls thirst and hunger. The amygdala works to regulate emotions and memory. It is often associated with the fight or flight response and the brain's internal reward system and stress. The hippocampus works to support memory, learning, space, and depth perception and navigation. The pineal gland plays a major role in circadian rhythm regulation and secretes melatonin. Moving on to the medical intervention, this portion of the project is actually why I chose to do the brain, because my father has Alzheimer's disease, which is a progressive disease that essentially destroys memory and myriad other mental functions. But there's been recent developments in treatment of the disease that have shown promise. So the new medical intervention aims at combating plaques that build up on the brain. This medical intervention is using monoclonal antibodies to recruit your own body's immune system to combat the plaques that have been building up or currently exist in the brain. These monoclonal antibodies replicate the antibodies that the body produces naturally. And a monoclonal antibody drug called lecanemab has been shown to decrease symptoms in patients by 27%. And I'm pretty sure that that is one of the medications that my father is on currently. And we have been seeing some, we've just been seeing some progress, which is really, really, it's great. And lecanemab targets these plaque buildups and works to prevent them from clumping up in the brain. And so from a biblical perspective, I think this medical intervention that helps to prevent or decrease plaques that build up on the brain is working to restore the brain back to its untarnished state, which is the way God or the creator had intended and designed it to be. This artificial design it's not necessarily looking to replace the initial design of the creator. More so, it's rather looking to purify and restore the initial design. In my opinion, the creator designed our brain to be the most essential organ in our body as it controls every function. So when creating this organ, the creator constructed something flawless. And through medical intervention, there's hope that his creation can return back to its flawless state. And I really like this passage from Isaiah 41:10. It said, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you, and I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." And thank you very much. That's been my presentation on the human brain.